Here at the Grizzly Hollow Champions, Grizz greats from football to cross country have been remembered. And one day, Morley says, she hopes that her photo is on one of these walls. On any night after 8 p.m., a student can request a ride from Grizz Walk by simply pulling out their phone, dialing the number, and a Grizz Walk cart will be there in a matter of minutes. The 5-story building is getting some new facilities for the medical program and the culinary program. Now, the culinary program will have a new state-of-the-art restaurant outlooking the riverfront. Pac-12 football media days continue in LA, and for the first time, we heard from the Washington State Cougars. Mike Leach has been making headlines all week for everything from his thoughts on Deflategate to how the college football playoff should expand to 64 teams. Today, though, Coach Leach actually talked about football and provided some insight into one of the questions going into fall camp. Who will be the Cougars' starting quarterback? Soaring to support, the Inland Northwest once again came to the aid of one of its own in a time of need. Dozens and dozens of people packed Dutch Bros coffee stands today to help support popular radio host Ken Hopkins of the Dave, Ken, and Molly Morning Show. $1 of each drink was donated to help with Ken's medical expenses after he was seriously injured in a recent bicycle accident. The Eastern Washington Eagles were there to show their support for a fellow Eagle. We still have plenty to get to here on SWX tonight. We'll head back to Avista Stadium for a breakdown of tonight's Indians game. Plus, we'll hear more from Lindsey Joy out at day one of Seahawks camp. Russell Wilson has a new contract, but there are still others looking for their new deal. We'll have that coming up next. Hello and welcome to UM News. I'm Sean Robb.
And I'm Dominique Giusti. Today we're looking at different ways UM students and faculty are working outside the campus community.
We're starting with professors and students studying sea spiders in one of the most remote places on Earth. Photographer Nick Christensen and I phoned into McMurdo Station, Antarctica. Gigantic sea spiders are roaming the sea floor. But don't worry, these large crawlers, roughly the size of a dinner plate, are nowhere near Big Sky country.
We are studying the function of this behavior using an aquarium in the lab.
That's Brett Tobalski. He's an associate professor at the University of Montana and studies the species in McMurdo Station, Antarctica. Researchers are studying how the oxygen intake and mechanics of the species changes due to rising temperatures and new current movements brought on by climate change.
There's this general motivation that we're fearing these ecosystems are really sensitive to change.
Members of the crew study the spiders by drilling holes in the ice, then dive into sub-zero temperatures for short periods of time. Tobalski says it's quite the experience.
It's pretty wild. And then you get below the ice, and the community of organisms just goes bonkers.
They are testing an idea that these ocean floor dwellers living in the cold water are growing larger because their metabolism is slowed down by the cold, and therefore a high amount of oxygen isn't needed. Sea spiders descend in a mechanically unique way by moving their legs in a stick shape to decrease drag. Tobalski says the spiders are an example for a growing problem in Antarctica due to rising temperatures.
The whole issue of global warming. So again, the sea spiders, they're interesting. Really what they are is a model system for the much bigger issue of gigantism, understanding diversity of systems.
The group will be heading back to Missoula the first weekend of December. The researchers plan to return to the South Pole next year. University of Montana forestry student Austin Kimmer cuts down trees and overhangs damaged by fires in the Lubrick Experimental Forest. It's part of a restoration and utilization class. Kimmer says he likes how the work in class helps give back to the Missoula area and keeps its residents safe.
The thing about this class is it kind of puts the behind-the-scenes work in maintaining that beautiful scenery that we're all spoiled by here. And it's good to be one of the guys that kind of maintains that. The class specializes in taking down deadly overhangs from burnt trees and reducing fuel for future fires. According to the Northern Rockies Coordination Center, Montana spent nearly $80 million on forest protecting services. Forestry grad student Ed O'Donnell is using the class to aid his research of how long trees will stand after a fire. He says the students' work is an important part of the fight against forest fires.
Fire isn't going away anytime soon, and these students are helping us with that research. That's something that we are looking forward to modeling in the future to help with not only fire safety but also recreation safety as well.
Head of the forestry program, Ed Burke, says the Lubric Forest is a good place for students to learn how to handle the dangerous conditions. The class aims to keep experimenting in the forest as long as weather permits. Reporting for News, I'm Sean Robb.
University of Montana cross country is reportedly losing their top runner. True freshman McKenna Morley will be transferring at the end of this semester. Morley led the team this season, winning the Big Sky Conference and finishing in the middle of the pack at NCAA Nationals. She made headlines as a senior at Big Fork High School, winning 3 state titles. She turned down top programs from around the country to stay in Montana, but now team members say she is talking to Iowa State and Colorado. Morley was unavailable for comment. Reporting for News, I'm Sean Robb.
Lacey Markison owns the local food mart Grizzly Grocery. She says money on Grizz cards presents a risk to her business.
You know, we see it as a liability in general, and I don't know where the university is because they don't have the technology where that liability would lie.
The new smart chip technology will protect businesses by minimizing fraudulent charges, while cards that swipe will not. Owners like Markison use the new sleek-looking machine on the left, while the Grizz card uses the older device on the right.
Yes, okay. Taking you. Sorry about that.
Maggie Linder is the Grizz card program manager on campus and says students swiping their cards around town poses an uncertain hazard.
Really, it's about evaluating your risk. When is the last time you've had a fraudulent charge?
Student Iatulo Madud says using money is convenient.
It's kind of really easy because you always have your Grizz card with you. It's one of the good things about it, you know.
Markison says she doesn't deny the danger of being accountable for counterfeit charges from students, but isn't too worried.
You know, and at the end of the day, the kids don't have a ton of money on their cards, so the amount of the fraudulent charge that we would be responsible for would be pretty minimal, I think.
Says the Grizz card will not feature the chip anytime soon. Reporting for News, I'm Sean Robb.